Lumen Point. Let's begin the breakdown.
All right, today we're tackling a story that gets people really fired up. It's a story about rebellion, unimaginable riches, and something that one of the world's most famous investors calls rat poison. Let's get into it. To really get Bitcoin, you have to go back to 2008. The entire global financial system was, well, it was on fire. Banks were collapsing, and governments were scrambling to print trillions of dollars to bail out the very people who caused the mess. The trust was just gone. And right in the middle of all that chaos, this wild idea pops up from a totally anonymous creator, this mysterious figure named Satoshi Nakamoto. And the question was simple, but it was radical. What if you could have a form of money that didn't need banks at all? What if you didn't need to trust anyone?
So you gotta understand, this wasn't just some nerdy tech project. No, this was a statement. It was a full-on rebellion, born directly out of the ashes and the anger of that 2008 financial meltdown. It was designed to be an escape hatch from a system many felt had totally failed them.
And that feeling was everywhere. People were watching their jobs, their homes, their life savings get torched, while the folks at the top got massive bailouts. Bitcoin wasn't just code. It was a direct answer to that profound sense of injustice.
And man, things moved fast. The system is literally imploding. Then, on Halloween of all days, this white paper just appears online. And just a couple of months later, boom, January 3rd, 2009, the network goes live and the first block is mined.
And get this, baked right into the code of that very first block was a little message. It was a headline from the Times newspaper in London, and it read, "Chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks." It was a timestamp, sure, but it was also a mission statement, a permanent, unchangeable digital middle finger to the old way of doing things.
Okay, so magic internet money. It sounds kind of ridiculous, right? And super complicated, but the core idea, it's actually pretty brilliant and way simpler than you might think. Let's pop the hood and see what's going on.
The whole thing runs on something called a blockchain. But look, forget the jargon for a sec. Just picture a notebook. But this isn't a private diary. It's a public notebook that's been copied and shared across thousands and thousands of computers all over the world.
And that right there is a secret sauce. It's what makes it so secure. See, if you want to cheat the system, say, change a transaction, you can't just edit your own copy of the notebook. You would have to somehow find and change all the other thousands of copies at the exact same time. It is, for all intents and purposes, impossible.
So, who gets to write in this notebook? Well, that's where the miners come in. Think of it like a massive global math competition happening 24/7. These powerful computers are all racing to solve a really hard puzzle. The first one to solve it gets the right to add the next page, the next block of transactions to the chain. And for all that work and all that electricity they burn, they get paid in brand new Bitcoin.
And here is the absolute key to the whole thing. The number, 21 million. That's it. There will never be more than 21 million Bitcoin in existence, ever. It's hard-coded into the system. Unlike government money that can be, and is, printed into infinity, this has a hard cap. That absolute scarcity is everything.
And that fixed supply is what started to change the entire conversation. I mean, Bitcoin began as this quirky little experiment for nerds to send money to each other, but it's morphed into something way, way bigger.
You want to hear the most legendary story in all of crypto. Back in 2010, a programmer paid 10,000 Bitcoin for 2 pizzas. Seriously, 2 Papa John's pizzas. It was the first time it was ever used for a real-world purchase. Today, those 10,000 Bitcoin are worth hundreds of millions of dollars. It's an insane story that perfectly captures how its value has just exploded. This really gets to the heart of a huge debate, the idea of easy money versus hard money. Governments control easy money. They can just make more of it. In fact, between 2020 and 2022, they created so much that nearly 40% of all US dollars in existence were printed in that short window. That encourages you to spend because your money is going to be worth less tomorrow. Bitcoin is hard money, the exact opposite. It's fixed supply, reward saving. So because of this predictable scarcity, a new nickname started to stick: digital gold. And when you think about it, it kind of fits, right? Like gold, it's rare. Like gold, it's durable. But it has these digital superpowers. You can't exactly email someone a gold bar, but you can send millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin across the planet in minutes. And this idea is not just some niche theory anymore. I mean, look who's getting on board. You've got tech billionaires like Michael Saylor and Jack Dorsey. You have entire countries. El Salvador literally made it legal tender. People in places like Nigeria and Argentina are using it to protect themselves from hyperinflation. And now the final boss, Wall Street. BlackRock, Fidelity, the biggest names in finance are now in the game. Okay, but let's pump the brakes. For every true believer who sees the future, there is an equally passionate, powerful skeptic who thinks this is all a giant house of cards. And this sets up one of the biggest fights in the world of money today. Yeah, they don't get much more skeptical than the late, great Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett's legendary partner. His take is, well, it's brutal. He argued it's worthless because it doesn't do anything. A company produces profits, a farm grows food, they generate cash. Bitcoin, in his view, just sits there. It has no real intrinsic value. And this is the great divide, right? It's like two people are looking at the exact same thing, but using completely different rule books. The skeptics are judging it like a business. They look for cash flow, they see zero, and they call it a worthless pet rock. The believers, they're judging it like a commodity, like gold. They see its value in its scarcity and its independence. They're not even playing the same game. So, beyond that war of words, what about the real world? What are the actual, tangible threats? People are always asking, yeah, but what if something goes wrong? What could actually kill this thing? And here it is, the big one. The question I hear more than any other. What if governments just ban it? What if they just make it illegal and shut the whole thing down? Well, we actually have a perfect real-world test for this. A few years ago, China, which was the undisputed center of the Bitcoin mining universe, brought down the hammer. A total nationwide ban. And for a second, the network took a huge hit. Everyone held their breath. But it didn't die. Not even close. You know what happened? The miners just unplugged their computers, packed them up, and moved to places like Texas. The network just routed around the damage. It proved to be unbelievably resilient. And that's when you start to realize, maybe this resilience is the main feature. It was designed to be government-proof through its decentralization. It was designed to be inflation-proof because of its hard supply cap. It's not the fastest technology, it's not the fanciest. Its superpower is just survival. So just think about it. After all the epic crashes, the hacks, the government bans, the endless stream of headlines declaring it dead, Bitcoin is still here. For more than a decade, it has just kept on ticking, adding a new block every 10 minutes exactly as it was designed to. Which leaves us with one last big question to chew on. What if Bitcoin's greatest feature isn't its technology at all, but its simple, stubborn, absolute refusal to die?
Fuel your curiosity. Subscribe for the explanation. Stay for the knowledge.